Hello, and welcome to Asa Smiles. I am Asa, your host, and today is June 9th, 2024, and it's a lovely, breezy day in New York City today. So, let's talk. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we are going to talk about a case that we have been working on for quite some time. We've been with it since virtually almost the beginning. And there's been a lot of movement in the case, and then it just stalled. So let's talk about this. All right, so let's sit down, lie down, or squat down, whatever makes you comfy, and let's listen in as we unpack this case, which is very crazy, very suspicious, and it's just not good. So let's talk about Jamie, or James Valdez. James Lubin Valdez went missing out of Booneville, Arkansas, allegedly on June 9th, 2021. And I say allegedly because that's what his wife says. Although she did not notify anybody that Jamie was missing until June 19th or 20th, somewhere around there. I know that the police were notified on the 20th of June that he was missing. So, there's allegedly 10 to 11 days that Jamie was gone. And there's been a big old hoopla about all that. Now, I'll tell you, as we get more into this, you'll understand why I feel the way that I do about this case. But, when people commit a crime and someone is missing, they do everything that they can to, if they're involved, to muddy the waters, so to speak, or to change the timeline, whatever they can to refocus attention somewhere else. And you'll understand why I feel this way as we get deeper into this case. Okay, so Jamie was just a really, really nice guy. He did have an issue with narcotic addiction, and but he had recently been sober for over a year. So before I get really deep into this, let me just say real quick, as I probably will say several times throughout the podcast, all persons mentioned in these podcasts are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law by a jury of their peers or a judge. So even though we may say that we have questions or thoughts or opinions, that means nothing until they are found guilty in a court of law. That's the great country that we live in, and those rules are put in place for a reason. And it's not always beneficial to the victims, but there's a reason those laws are put into place the way they are. So, okay. So Jamie was a super nice guy. He worked as a butcher when I knew him. He was so nice and funny and he was always laughing. But he was just a nice guy. He just, he really was. He wasn't one of those mean people. He wasn't a mean person. He was just a nice guy. And so his case was one of the first cases that we really started getting deeply involved in, for that reason, because we did know him to an extent. And and then we got to know the family and friends and so on and so forth. And Jamie was surrounded by people who just loved him. Loved him, loved him, loved him. Especially his siblings. And the one sibling leading the charge on everything would be his sister, Shawn Claiborne. She has never given up, and she spends a big part of her days just searching for her brother that she loves and misses so, so much. And so, they've all been through a lot. And so, allegedly, Jamie went missing somewhere around June 9th. I think that date is incorrect. I think that date was thrown out to throw people off, but I think that Jamie had been missing on a different date. So, anyways, but nonetheless, his wife stated that they had had an argument, and that after that argument, Jamie just left. Well, we all have questions about her story of what happened, and I'm going to lay those reasons out for you. First and foremost, they had just been married not even a month prior to Jamie's disappearance. And one of the conditions of them getting married, according to Jamie, as Jamie shared with his family, was that he had to be sober at least a year. And so Jamie got sober because he loved her and he wanted to marry her. And so those were the conditions that she put out, and he did it. So he is sober for a little over a year, and he calls his family one day to let his family know that him and Anna are going to get married. And so they go get married. And he is thrilled to pieces. Jamie is thrilled that finally, he's getting to marry this woman that he loves. And he was just excited to share that with his family and everybody else. So, he was letting all these people know that he was getting married, or he had just got married, and how happy he was. It was just an amazing day for him. Okay, so one of the reasons why we at JC Cares has a different idea of what took place originally when he disappeared is because Jamie was sighted approximately a day or two after he allegedly disappeared. and he had dinner with friends in Ozark, Arkansas, which is another small town that Jamie was very familiar with. His daughter lives there, and he's got friends from there. So he was allegedly seen in Ozark, and either the friends are mistaken about which day that was, or the time that we were told he allegedly disappeared was incorrect. But either way, we know that he is gone and has been gone for 3 years now. So, on or about around June 19th or June 20th of 2021, Sean, Jamie's sister, was notified that Jamie was missing and had been missing for some time. And so what was kind of weird about the conversation was his wife asked, well, should I make a police report? What do you mean, should you make a police report? Your husband is missing, that you've only been married to for approximately 4 weeks. And, I mean, if your husband's been missing by this time, looking at about 10, 11 days, wouldn't you automatically make a police report? I mean, that just seems kind of odd. But either way, Jamie's missing. And when his wife calls his sister, Sean, and tells Sean and says, should I file a police report? Of course, right away, Sean was like, yes. Yes. You know, I'm sure in her mind, she was thinking the same thing we were all thinking. Why are you waiting till now? Either way. So, the story that was told to Jamie's sister about his disappearance and the events that led up to his disappearance was like, really? So, supposedly, or allegedly, according to his wife, they had an argument because she was supposed to be off of work that day, and they had plans. They had made plans together to do something together because Jamie was off that day as well. So they had plans to do some stuff, right? Well, according to her, her work called and was harassing her to come into work. And Jamie didn't want her to go to work, according to her. Keep that all in mind. This is what she says happened. So, you know, he was really upset that she had agreed to go into work. And, so I'm sure he threw a fit. I mean, you know how it is when you're newly married and you're in love and you want to spend time with your spouse, and your work keeps calling you in on your days off and ruins some plans. You're disappointed, you're upset. And of course he was upset. But he was also upset about some other things. And according to witnesses, he was upset because he felt like his wife was getting back involved, allegedly, with narcotics and different stuff like that. Now, that's alleged. We weren't there, so we don't know whether that truly happened or not. But that's what some witnesses have said. Anyways, according to Jamie's wife, she went ahead and went to work. And then a little while later, she says he came into her job, which was at a gas station in this small town of Booneville. And, they had words or whatever. And then, according to her, allegedly, Jamie asked her if he could go back home. Well, that struck me as weird right there. And that's one of the reasons why we at JC Cares feel like the timeline is off. And it was thrown off for a reason. Because, and we're going to point a lot of these out as we discuss this and as we keep unpacking Jamie's case. There was a lot of things that his wife said one day, and then on a different day she said something completely different than what she said originally. It was like changing the narrative to fit her story of what was taking place. And so, why would Jamie, if according to her, they hadn't broke up, why would Jamie ask her if he can come back home? And that's a question we've all had for a long time. Nobody says, can I come back home, if they're not broke up. According to her, they weren't broke up. He was just upset because she went to work and he didn't want her to go to work. But that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Now, we do know that there was some clothes in the back of Jamie's Chevy Equinox, 2010 Chevy Equinox. What questions we have is, when did those clothes get in there? Did she, in fact, throw Jamie out? And, Jamie was living in his car for a couple of days. What, the whole story, when you put everything together in a timeline while working on link analysis, we can't figure it all out the way that she is explaining that the story happened, and the way she keeps changing the story. So, we know that Jamie went up to her work and they had a discussion. And according to her, he asked her if he could come back home, and she said, I don't care what you do. Okay, wait a minute. They've been married 4 weeks. 4 weeks. But during that time, some things changed drastically in Jamie's world. And one of those things is his wife got this job where he was concerned that she was entering back into the drug world. And in addition, her brother was being released from prison. So, looking through public record, the brother of Jamie's wife, his brother-in-law, was a pretty shady character. He was out on parole for kidnapping, allegedly. Well, he was convicted of kidnapping, and allegedly he had taken somebody out to a bridge and put a noose around their neck and threw him over the bridge, and that person ended up living. And so, but nonetheless, he was convicted of kidnapping, and again was out on parole and living at his mother's home, which is where Jamie and his wife were residing at the time. They were residing there because Jamie's mother-in-law had fell and hurt her back. She was not well and needed some help. So, allegedly, they had relocated from Texas back to Arkansas where they could help take care of Jamie's mother-in-law. Now, approximately 10 days later, they found Jamie's vehicle abandoned on the side of a dirt road in Sugar Grove, Arkansas, which is about, it's like 8 to 10 miles outside of the city of Booneville. And it's way out in the country, y'all. It's very rural. So, anyways, but that area where they found the vehicle is not far from where Jamie grew up. So he knew those woods. He knew the area. He knew the bluff hole like the back of his hand, because that's where he had grown up. So at first, the narrative that was put out was that it was felt that Jamie had got out of his vehicle and wandered into the woods and had an issue with his diabetes and, passed away somewhere out there in the woods. That's a bunch of hogwash. That's a bunch of hogwash. I lived in Booneville for close to 15 years. And, yeah. That, them old boys down there, they know where they grew up. They hunt those woods. They hike in those woods. They do all kinds of stuff in those woods. And Jamie knew those woods. So, on top of that, Jamie was not insulin dependent diabetic. He took metformin for his diabetes. And his diabetes had been under control. There's no reason whatsoever to suggest that somebody taking metformin for diabetes would wander out into the woods and have a diabetic attack and keel over. Now, the chances of that happening with somebody who's insulin dependent and they get too much insulin and go into diabetic shock, etc., that would be understandable. But he was not insulin dependent. He took metformin. I take metformin. If I can't take my metformin for whatever reason for a couple days, I may not feel great, but I'm not going to keel over. So, that's just the craziest thing I ever heard. But that was the narrative that was first put out about what they thought probably happened to Jamie. Now, I want you to keep in mind that because Jamie had an addiction issue, the attitude among law enforcement, in our opinion, was so long, goodbye to another person involved in drugs who, succumbed to his addiction, basically, was kind of the attitude. That was really hard for the family because they knew for a fact that he had been sober for over a year. That was the whole reason that he was able to get married, was because he had done what was required in order for him to be able to get married to his wife. Something else interesting that we found to be concerning was that Jamie's wife had lived at one point during her younger years as a teenager with the chief of police's family. The chief of police in Booneville, his family had taken in Jamie's wife as a teenager for whatever reasons. She had lived there for a while with them. She was best friends with the chief of police's sister. Allegedly, they had gone on vacations together. She was basically like part of the family. And so from the beginning, the thought was that Jamie's case wasn't taken very seriously because some people felt like that the chief of police just took her at her word of what happened because he felt like he had a personal relationship with Jamie's wife and he knew her and could trust what she was telling him. That's what a lot of people have thought, including us. And that's just alleged. But once we start telling you the different things that happened, you'll understand why people are so adamant that this was handled wrong from the get-go. And I gotta tell you, honestly, I don't think people are too far off from what they feel. And so let's talk about that a little bit. So Jamie had a 2010 Chevy Equinox, which had been located out there in Sugar Grove, right? And when they found Jamie's vehicle on the back, when you're on these dirt roads, you know how the vehicles just get covered in dust and dirt when you're going down dirt roads. Okay, so now keep in mind that during all of this, we're already, we're working close with Jamie's family, trying to help them get this all sorted out. And so anyways, when they find Jamie's vehicle, supposedly the vehicle is found by someone who was a friend of Jamie's, and that's alleged. I don't know if that's true or not, but this person allegedly is the husband of Jamie's wife's boss. So the boss that was calling her into work happened to be the person, or her husband happened to be the person who found Jamie's vehicle in Sugar Grove. So when the vehicle is found in Sugar Grove, that is when the phone call is made to Sean regarding Jamie being missing. Was after the vehicle was found. Up until then, no. So the vehicle's found. The wife takes a couple pictures of the vehicle, and then ask his sister, should I call the police? Okay, should you call the police? Well, what do we know about the vehicle? Well, let us tell you what we know about the vehicle. We know the vehicle was locked. And we know that some of Jamie's possessions were in the vehicle. We know that one of the seats was down in the vehicle in the back. We also know that the engine had been tampered with. And we also know that the front driver's seat had been torn, a really big tear at the seam. And we'll tell you the significance of all that here shortly. So, you're just married a month. You find out your husband's abandoned vehicle is on the side of the road, and on the back window where all this dirt and dust was, you know how people will walk past cars and they'll use their finger and they'll write "wash me" on somebody's window or whatever. You know, kids do that stuff. Well, someone, and at the time it was alleged that it was Jamie, someone had put, "He is near, help me. He is near, help me." Why? Now, later on, it was said that 4 teenagers came forward and claimed that they are the ones who did that, and that they were just doing a prank. They had been swimming, and they saw the vehicle. They said the vehicle wasn't running. The chief of police says that they told him it was running at first when they first found. I mean, it's just, these big old long stories. So, and keep in mind, this is a really very small town. Very small. Everybody knows everybody. So, why? Why would you choose a message like, "He is here, he is near, help me"? Why? Why would you choose that to put on somebody's vehicle window instead of "wash me" or "I need a bath" or something, similarly lame, right? But they chose "He is near, help me," and we have our theories about why that was. So, the narrative from the beginning was kind of like Jamie had relapsed and, was out at the middle of the woods, losing his mind, wrote this cryptic message on his back window, and, wandered off into the forest that he grew up in and just disappeared. Okay. If that ain't Kool-Aid, I don't know what is. So the first issues happened with the case when it was basically an argument over who was in control or on the lead of this case, whether it was going to be the sheriff's department or the Booneville Police Department because of where the vehicle was found. Now, that is an issue that happens predominantly in small towns. You guys would not believe how many cases we get like that. We get those kind of cases all the time where one police agency didn't do something and then the other one didn't do it because they thought the other one was doing it and that one thought the other one was doing it, etc. And I'll tell you what, that's a bunch of crap. I'm just going to say it. That's a bunch of crap. Because if you have something like this happen, You should be making sure or checking with the other agency to make sure. There should be conversation between the two agencies of what is going to take place so that it's understood by everybody. So now, when this information was shared with JC Cares and we started looking at pictures of the vehicle and different things, the hair was standing up on the back of our necks here in the office, because we were like, what is going on? So the first thing that we noticed of significance in Jamie's vehicle is that the driver's side front seat was torn, a really big rip, and it was on the side where the center console would be, and it was a seam that joins. So like if you put your hand down between the seat and the center console, like as if you dropped something, and you go down there, there's a seam at the bottom where whatever the cloth is, whether it's leather or cloth or whatever, is sewn together so that it, fits tightly on the seat. And what it looks like is that Jamie was sitting in the driver's side seat, and it looks like somebody was trying to pull Jamie out of the vehicle, and he stuck his hand down inside, in between the seat and the center console, and was holding on to the seat, trying to keep from being pulled out of the vehicle. And in the interim, it ripped that seam and pulled the material up over the top of the seat so that the sponge of the seat was actually showing. A big area. Wasn't just a little small area. It was a big area. So right away, that was alarming to us, because we're like, wait a second. How can that be? Jamie was a really big guy, and it would take more than one person to pull Jamie out of his vehicle. And you can see by looking at that seat that he was hanging on for dear life. He really was. And it ripped it right at the seam, and it brought that cloth up over. You know how when you sit on the seat, you have the seat in the middle, and then you have the two like wings of the seat that kind of go up a little bit, where, so that your rear end is cradled in the seat. Well, that rip had pulled that material up over that wing on that side, the whole wing, from all the way from the front of the seat to the back. So it wasn't a small rip. And it wasn't there prior to Jamie going missing. So that was alarming. And once we saw that, we sprung into action. We're like, something's wrong here. We need to figure out what's going on. So we started looking at more. Well, then we received photos of the engine compartment of this 2010 Chevy Equinox. And right away, the very first thing the team and I came to was someone removed the OnStar. And so right away, we started asking, where's the OnStar? Where's the OnStar? Well, Jamie's wife goes public and says that vehicle didn't have OnStar. What do you mean it didn't have OnStar? Well, I don't care if he was subscribed to OnStar or not, but that vehicle should have OnStar factory, installed when it came off the line at Chevy. She argued and argued and argued with everybody that it did not have OnStar. So what we did, because at JC Cares, we want to make sure we're putting the correct information out. So we went directly to the top echelon at Chevy and spoke with someone who told us that, and I have his name. I don't have the file in front of me, but he's one of the top notch in the board of Chevrolet. So anyway, I spoke to him and he relayed to me exactly how it works. As of 2008, all Chevy vehicles come off of the production line with factory installed OnStar as part of their safety program. Whether you subscribe to having the service or not, if you have a Chevy vehicle that's 2008 or above, then your vehicle automatically has OnStar on it. It came off the production line with OnStar automatically installed. And they did that for a reason. As I said, it's a part of their safety package that they talk about constantly. Because even if you don't subscribe to OnStar, you still have safety protocols that are included in that. It tracks that vehicle, every move that vehicle makes. It tracks it all. They can find the vehicle if you don't make your payments and they want it back. They can find it right then, boom, wherever it's at. So there's a lot of things that go into the OnStar in that vehicle. Now, there was no kinds of crime scene investigation done on the vehicle. In fact, they gave the vehicle back to his wife. They gave the vehicle back to his wife. So, here the vehicle is sitting abandoned on a dirt road out in the country with a big old rip in the seat. Engine had been tampered with. Stuff was missing. They found some of Jamie's pocket possessions, like his medical card and stuff like that, about 100 feet away from the car on the ground. And but no Jamie. And so you would think that the first thing the law enforcement would do would be to process the vehicle, because there's so much information that could have come from that vehicle, like fingerprints. The vehicle was locked, so maybe there were fingerprints inside the vehicle. There's environmental things that could have been taken from that vehicle that would have possibly told them where that vehicle had been. And then there was the tampering with the firewall on the engine compartment, which, by the way, is exactly where Chevy tells us that the components for OnStar are located. And the OnStar on Jamie's vehicle was gone. It was gone. Why? Where did it go? Are you going to try to convince me or anybody else that Jamie took that off himself and wandered off into the forest and disappeared? Give me a break. So nobody processed the vehicle. Booneville blames the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department blames Booneville. But who's the victim? I'll tell you who the victim is. James Valdez. That's who the victim is. So the vehicle doesn't get processed. It gets given back to his wife, and she lets it go back to the dealership. Now, let us understand a couple of things. Number one, that vehicle, the 2010 Equinox, was not Jamie's. That belonged to his wife. The pickup that she drove was Jamie's. And it was her choice to drive the pickup because she liked the pickup more than she liked the Equinox. And Jamie, being the person Jamie was, Jamie didn't care. Jamie was like, I don't care. As long as I get from point A to point B, honey, you can drive the pickup. I'll drive the Equinox. No big deal. That's basically how it was. So they didn't process the vehicle. They gave it back to the wife, and she lets it go back to the dealership and get, whatever done to it. And, any thought of ever getting any evidence out of the vehicle is gone. It's gone. Why? Oh, because it was just basically, this is just a drug addict who, wandered off into the woods and disappeared. So, y'all, so let's talk about what else we know. What else we know is that Jamie had just started a new job a few days prior at CV's grocery store there in Booneville. It's no longer there, but at the time it was there. And he had applied for and had gotten a job as the butcher, which is how I knew him, was when he worked at a different store as a butcher. So he had just landed the job at CV's as a butcher a few days prior to him disappearing. So, but what's even more interesting, and that we do know, is that Jamie did not have his phone. He didn't have his bank card. He didn't have any of that stuff that somebody who was leaving of their own volition would take with them, right? I'm leaving you. You made me mad. I'm going to take my bank card so I have gas money and food. I'm going to take, my phone so that I can reach people and people can reach me. It doesn't make any sense, folks. If he was leaving because he was mad at his wife, he would have took those things with him. So here we are. We have a man who had just been married 4 weeks. He had just started a new job just days before and was doing really well until he had this fight with his wife. And she is the one who says they had a fight. But she failed to share a lot of that information with family or law enforcement in the beginning. And I believe, in my humble opinion, that was by design. I believe that there was a lot of things that were done by design to throw off any potential investigation. And, but Jamie's sister was not going to give up, and neither would we. So we kept pounding at it. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I spent hours upon hours upon hours on the phone going over case information, sharing details, with Sean, Jamie's sister, we went over this and over this and over this. And searching for things and, bringing different things up and trying to get different things done that weren't being done. So, Sean, Jamie's sister, she reached out to the state police and the FBI, hoping to get some assistance, and was basically told by both entities that they had to be invited in by the Booneville Police Department to be able to get involved, which is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. But even so, even if that's true, then why wouldn't the chief of police in Booneville say, yeah, I really need your help? Because it's not like, I have a whole lot of experience in dealing with this, and I know that I already messed up by not processing the vehicle. I need some help with this. But according to them, allegedly, they were refused. Now, I'm like, why? Why would you refuse that? Then something else that was alarming was that people were coming forward with information. One lady not far from where the vehicle was found reported that she had found what appeared to be a finger and a nipple and some other pieces of human flesh on one of the roads out there that lead to the lake. And was there anything done about that? No. Now, I know at one point that Sean reached out to EquiSearch and asked EquiSearch to come out and search. And again, EquiSearch was like, well, we have to be invited by the police department. So Sean went to the chief of police and told him and said, can we do this? And he was like, no, it's too dangerous out there for horses. Well, EquiSearch doesn't just do search on horseback. They do all kinds of searches. They come out, they look at the area they're going to be searching, and then they decide how they're going to go about it, and they share that information with the police department so the police department knows what they're going to be doing. But they told EquiSearch no, allegedly several times. Why? They told Sean that they didn't want to be responsible. You're not responsible. They have their own insurance. You're not responsible for anything. They're there to help. Why wouldn't you say, yeah, we can use all the help we can get? Come on out, EquiSearch. Come on, FBI. Come on, state police. We need help in small town Booneville with this case. You guys, think about that. If that was your loved one, think about how you would feel. I mean, come on. It's just not reality. The whole thing stinks to high heaven, and it has. But let's jump to what's even more crazy. What's even more crazy is she already had a boyfriend. Surprise! Right? No. No surprise. She already had a boyfriend and he was already living in her house. In fact, when the police went to talk to her, allegedly, according to them, he was there. And this is what they told Sean, his sister, the police. Allegedly, according to her, they told her, well, she's guilty of cheating, but that doesn't mean that she did. What? He'd only been married a month. A month, folks. A month. This wasn't a 15-year marriage and she was cheating. This was a month. And the man is gone. Disappeared. Without a trace. He's living there with a woman that he allegedly told people he was concerned was back in the drug game and was involved with people at work that were doing the same thing. He was upset about that. That's why he didn't want her to go in on her day off, because he felt like it was a ruse to get her in there. And so he didn't want her to go. Then you have the brother-in-law who has an extensive criminal history of violent crimes. And this man just disappears off the face of the earth. And we know when the police go there to discuss and ask her questions about her husband, she's there with her brother, her mother, and her boyfriend. And we have witnesses who are coming forth alleging that the brother-in-law had issues with Jamie. That he had an axe to grind with Jamie. That he was angry with Jamie about something that allegedly took place where he was concerned, and he was angry about that, and he had an axe to grind with Jamie. Wow. Knowing all of that, how could you not process the vehicle? I don't understand. And I know that all of you right now are thinking, what? What? Today marks 3 years that Jamie allegedly has been missing. And I say allegedly because I'm not so sure that today's date is the actual day that Jamie went missing. So, everything that has been relayed about the case, as far as we are concerned, that's been relayed by Jamie's wife to us has been a lie. She did an interview with these two YouTubers who just piled in a vehicle together and showed up from across the states, and they just showed up and went out to where this vehicle was at, etc., etc. The vehicle wasn't there any longer, but they went out there and they were going through the woods and videotaping everything. And then they sat down with the person of interest, the main person of interest, and interviewed her. And which to us was a bad move. But she did it nonetheless. And anybody who's watched that video has said there is something wrong. Excuse me. Hold on. Anyways, you can watch that video and see that something is very, very wrong with this woman who had been married for a month. Her husband goes missing. She already has a boyfriend living with her. She does this interview with these YouTubers, and she's not, crying. She's not, it was very surreal. There's the word I'm looking for. Surreal. And so this whole case has been a calamity of errors. So there's so much about the case that's going on behind the scenes that can't be talked about for the integrity of the case. But I know that there is going to be a resolution in this case. In addition to Jamie's sister, reaching out to the state police and to the FBI, JC Cares did as well. We reached out to both entities as well. And we were assured that by the FBI that they would look into this. But we don't know if they have or haven't. Hopefully they have. And they're working on it. But I have a feeling that this has gone just like it has always gone since Jamie disappeared 3 years ago. We were told that we asked why there hadn't been a lie detector test done on Jamie's wife and, her brother and boyfriend, etc. And the family was told that Arkansas didn't have any, that there was like a long waiting list for people that needed to have polygraphs done, and there wasn't that many polygraph examiners available in the state of Arkansas, blah, blah, blah. However, we have other cases in Arkansas that have not had problems getting a lie detector done. So, in our opinion, that's just a load of crap. I don't know another nice way to say it. A load of crap. So, again, that's just our opinion. And again, anybody that we're discussing in this podcast is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law by a jury or by the judge. So, we're simply sharing with you what work we've done in the investigation, what we have found out, and what we know to be true. And the last time that we spoke with the chief of police, we told them about our discussion with Chevrolet, told them who we spoke with, and what they told us. And guess what happened? As soon as the wife found out that we had gone to Chevrolet, She comes back and says, no, the vehicle was a 2007. Oh, 2007 now, because we said 2008 forward comes right off the assembly line with the OnStar, right? So now she's trying to change it and say, well, no, it was a 2007. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. We already ran all that information. We ran the plates. We ran the VIN. It was a 2010. And she changed, publicly she changed what year that vehicle was because she knew that we had spoke with Chevrolet. Why would you lie about what year the vehicle was? She said that publicly. There's no denying that. All along, she said it was a 2010. As soon as we spoke with Chevrolet, she's like, oh, it was a 2007. It didn't have OnStar. Lies. Nothing but lies. And why, as this man's wife, would you lie about that? Why? So we know for a fact when we ran that vehicle what year it is. Now you're going to try to tell everybody it was a vehicle 3 years older? No. Y'all, this family needs help. There are other things going on behind the scenes. We can't share that information for obvious reasons, but we need to get this information out as far and wide as possible because what has happened to Jamie is wrong. It's wrong. And what has happened to Jamie's family because of all of this is wrong. Jamie was a human being. He was a man. He was a father. He loved his only child immensely. Immensely. He would never walk away from her and never contact her again. And as her birthdays have come and gone, she has not heard from him. And the family knows. The family knows, and they'll be the first to tell you that they know that Jamie's gone. That he's no longer in this world. But they want justice for him. And they deserve justice. His daughter deserves justice. This man didn't leave his wife and not take any money, or supposedly, according to her, and this is allegedly, Jamie stole $600 from her mother. Prove it. I don't believe it. Not 1 minute. Not 1 second do I believe that. It still doesn't explain why Jamie wouldn't take his phone or anything else. Why nobody's heard from Jamie. Why his daughter hasn't heard from him. Give me a break. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. And we're never going away. Just because we're quiet behind the scenes on this case now doesn't mean that we're not working on it. We are. And we're going to keep working on it until Jamie gets his justice. And I can guarantee you I'll be sitting in that courthouse when he gets it. When the clink of them handcuffs go on, I'll be sitting there. Because what happened to Jamie is wrong. And even after he's gone, he's still being victimized. he's still being victimized, being, well, he was involved in drugs and this, that, the other, and he did this and he did that. I get it. But what people don't realize is he had been sober for over a year. He was doing well. He had just landed a new job. He had passed the drug screens for that. He was doing well. And he was happy, but for the fact that he felt like his wife was getting caught up in the whole drug scene again. And he had been sober for over a year. He didn't want to get caught up in that again. Jamie deserves justice. And we're going to make sure that he gets it. And I can tell you for a fact, I know his family is never, ever giving up. Especially Sean, who has been the most vocal, who's put in the most work. Hours and hours and hours of collecting information, documentation. Same as we have. And we're going to keep doing that until we get a resolution. So, although today is allegedly the day that Jamie went missing 3 years ago, we still have not got justice for Jamie. But we're close. And we're going to get it. We're going to get it. We're working on that right now, as we speak. The same as we're doing in the Eric Alvarado case. We're working on Jamie's case. And we're going to get a resolution. We will get an indictment one way or another for Jamie's case. So, in closing out this podcast today, I just want Jamie to know, because I know that Jamie is watching over us. I just want Jamie to know that we are still here. We're going to get you justice, buddy. We're going to get it. One way or another, we're going to get it. And we will be here until we do. And supporting your family and getting it done. So, folks, if you're listening and you have any information regarding Lubin Valdez, Jamie Valdez, please reach out to us. You can email us at jccares91@gmail.com, or you can call us at 929-406-3527. Follow the prompts. If you want to leave an anonymous tip, you can. If not, you want to speak to a live person, leave a message regarding that you want to speak with somebody live, and I will call you back. It'll be me. I'll call you. If you want to tell us something that you know, or even just your ideas, please let us know. It takes a village to get these cases solved. And so I'm reaching out to the village of Booneville and Sugar Grove and Ozark, asking for the citizens there to think to yourself, this could be your loved one. If you know something, or you heard a rumor even, we fact check everything. So even if it's a rumor, holler at us. We'll fact check it. We just need your help to get Jamie the justice he deserves. And stop the narrative that Jamie's wandering around in the forest. Or whatever. Right? Anyways, y'all. We'll end this podcast here for today, and we'll keep you updated on Jamie's case. Y'all, we hope that our listeners will say a prayer or send some good vibes or some good juju to the family, to Jamie's beautiful daughter. Just say a prayer for them that they get through this, and because I'm going to tell you what, as long as that narrative keeps getting put out, what does that do? That makes Jamie's daughter thinks that Jamie just up and disappeared on her. And what a lie. What a lie. And what a horrible, horrible, horrible thing to do to a young girl. Anyways, we look forward to all of your help, your tips. Please remember to always be kind, y'all. Be kind to everybody. I say that in every podcast because in every podcast, it's true. Just be kind. It's so much easier to be kind than it is to be mean. And as always, smile. It's contagious, right? It really is. Try it. I promise you won't regret it. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Thank you for listening. We love you so much. So long for now.